Hi, welcome to Chad's Silversmithing. First off, thanks for visiting my channel and checking out this video. If you would, before you leave, make sure to hit the like button. That helps me out a great deal. And if you enjoy the content, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you get updates when I upload a new video. So today's project, I'm going to do a pendant today, and it's going to have a pretty Labradorite in it. And it's sort of inspired by Art Nouveau sort of designs with the kind of sweeping curves. It almost, something about it reminds me of the Coriolis effect too as well. So, but I'm kind of a science nerd, so either way, I'm going to show you how to make this guy. So let's get started. Okay, I've made a few similar pendants over the years, and I kind of sketched out what I'm going to do here. I want to do something like this with this pretty Labradorite that I have. So I drew a circle around it, and then I kind of sketched out what I wanted to do. And I want these wires here to be kind of taller and skinnier than they are wide. So I'm going to take some thicker square wire, like this 12 gauge square wire, and flatten it out in the rolling mill a little bit so that I get more of a narrow kind of tall sort of wire. You could pound it with a hammer if you wanted to. That would do the same thing. It's just easier to get a symmetrical kind of shape and thickness if you use the rolling mill over there. For the back of the bezel, we use 26 gauge sterling silver. Bezel, I'm going to use 3/16 inch plain fine silver strip. And for the bail, which is this part up here, I'm going to be using a piece of 26 gauge sterling silver sheet and some of this 22 gauge wire as a border on it, hard silver solder. And I'll need a little bit of 14 gauge round wire probably for this loop up here, which I'll grab probably some scrap on the table somewhere. So to start with though, I'm going to go ahead and make my bezel. So we'll do that first. Show you a little trick for when you have bigger bezels that you're going to make like this and you want to solder the ends together. The longer these get, the flimsier they get, so I always make them into a square or a rectangle to start with, but even that doesn't make it very springy. So what I usually do after I get my square or rectangle, which I've kind of done there, is if you push the bottom upwards, kind of a little hill shape like that, it seems to make the overall thing springier. So when you push these past each other to get them pushing together, we just got to kind of line them up a little better. But definitely springier than if you just had a flat bottom here. So looks like I got pretty good on the size there. Just flattening this out a little bit. you want a more detailed explanation of why I do bezels, you can always look up here. I'll put a link up there for you for a video about bezels. Cool this guy off. Next, I'm just going to trim off the excess. Well, first to make sure I got a good solder joint all the way around. Looks pretty clean. Okay, that's pretty much done. This is that 12 gauge square wire, which is pretty thick square wire. And from this drawing, I had some scrap wire on the table, and I did it along these. I like strung it out and got it curved like this in order to figure out how long of a piece I need. So I use this as a template when I mark off these. This would be the inner one that goes right there, because there's going to be 4 pieces, one there, one there, one there, and one there. So if I add these up, let me straighten this out a little bit more. The other thing to keep in mind is this is going to make them a little bit longer than I need, because when I run it through the rolling mill, it's going to stretch it out a bit, but it's hard to guess exactly how much it's going to stretch. So I'm just going to make sure that I have enough for all 4 of these pieces, and then I'll cut off the excess after I roll it. So about right there, and then I'll just cut it there, and we'll move over to the rolling mill so you can see how I do this. Okay, so this is a rolling mill. It's a kind of a cheap rolling mill. It's got 2 parallel rollers down here. The way to adjust it is this thing on top. It moves that down or up. And what I'm going to do is run this through this and gradually move those wheels closer together. And we'll go from there. I did this one earlier to get an idea how thick I wanted it to be, so I'll compare it to this as I go, and then when I get it to where it's about the same as that, then I'll stop. If you go too far with a rolling mill like this, it's work hardening the metal pretty hard, and you might need to anneal it so it doesn't crack if it starts to get too much pressure over time. Work hardening. Okay, I think that's about right. So it's much wider in this dimension now than it is this dimension. Okay, I think I'm going to spend a little bit of time getting this to lay a little flatter again. Sometimes it curves to the one side a little bit in your rolling mill when you're flattening it. This has gotten pretty springy, so I think I'm going to anneal it so it's a little less springy. It gets hard to handle, and it wants to kind of go where, like that when it gets too springy. So I'm just going to bend it small enough to get on its head here. We'll heat it up to the point where it's kind of a dull red color. We'll cool off for a bit. cooling off a little bit. I'm going to need a jump ring for the bail to go through at the top of the pendant, so I'm going to cut one off of here. Come back to that in a bit. We're going to use these as guides for the 4 pieces we're going to cut off of there, and then we'll start shaping it like this here, I think. So it should be a little bit more malleable now. We're going to try and spring back into exactly the same position it was. Cut the end off here. Let's cut our first piece. I'm going to cut 2 of these. Kind of interesting because I measured for 2 of these and 2 of these, which I got now, and there's this much left over now, even though we measured exactly the right length. So it stretched it out that much, probably 4.5 to 5 inches in the rolling mill, so it kind of elongated it quite a bit. I'll end up using that for something else, but let's file the ends of these flat first. And then I'm going to have to just spend some time doing some manual shaping. And it's going to be kind of eyeballing a lot of stuff. And trying to get things symmetrical. It's surprisingly hard to get 2 pieces of wire exactly the same. Like if you're curving it or bending it, get those exactly the same is really difficult. Okay, I think before I go any further, I'm going to spend a little time getting these guys so there's no more waviness in them, because I want my curves to be nice and clean looking. Okay, I kind of use this as a guide. File the end here thin. So my thought is here, before I solder anything else, I'm going to solder these up here together on both sides so I get the same kind of exact angle there. I'm just going to solder these 2 together here. That'll make it easier to shape the rest of it and get them exactly the same on either side. My drawing is not perfectly proportioned, so I'm trying to kind of compensate for that. So. Now it's starting to come together. So I think I'm going to Dremel these on the inside a little bit here. I'll be right back. What I did was kind of thin these out right here and here with the Dremel. Okay. And solder those guys like that. I think that's going to do it probably. I'm going to go ahead and solder it here, here, and then I'll solder the bezel in here, 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 and here. So make sure I have plenty of solder here. I'm going to put a jump ring at the top here. That 14 gauge one I snipped off a little while ago. Throw that in the pickle just for a little bit. And while that's pickling for a while, I'm going to go ahead and make my little bail that goes through the top ring there. I'll use this piece right here. This is that 22 gauge sterling wire, which I'll use for a little border on my bail. If you've watched some of my other pendant videos, you've probably seen this kind of bail before. If you want to see the video about how to make these bails, it's more specific than this one. Check out there. These are bail making pliers. They're handy for this. A nice teardrop sort of bail. Okay, so for this, pop it on there. I'm gonna angle it inwards like that in order to get these two ends together. Make sure I got a little solder here. Put this in the pickle for a while, and then I will come back and clean it up with the Dremel, set the stone, and then we'll polish it, and I'll show you the final product. Alright, let it pickle for a while, cleaned it up a little bit with the Dremel, and now let's set our stone. Sometimes Labradorite looks better from one angle than another. Okay. Okay. I guess it's time to go polish this guy. I was pretty pleased with the final product. I think it came out nice. Let's see kind of So I'll take a nicer picture and put it at the end of the video. Alright, that was the Curvy Labradorite pendant. I hope that you found this video to be entertaining and useful. And if you did, make sure to hit the like button. I'd love to have you subscribe to my channel, and if you know anybody who might find this interesting as well, feel free to share it. I'm trying to grow my channel. I'm putting 2 to 3 videos up a week, and I think that most of them are pretty useful and provide some good ideas for things. So make sure to subscribe. So thanks for watching. I love comments and suggestions, so make sure to do that as well if you want to. But take care and happy silversmithing.